Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations to all of you. Ambassador Palmer, I'm particularly interested in your assignment. Venezuela is a country that, for which we have, to say the least, a difficult relationship with. It is a country under its present leadership, in my view, that clothes itself under the cloak of democracy, but acts in, President Chavez acts in undemocratic ways. I'm really concerned about what is the message that we send when we go there. You know, I look at one of the fundamental elements of what democracy is, and it's freedom of expression, and particularly freedom of the press. And one of the concerns with the Chavez government, in my view, it's its lack of respect for the fundamental right of the freedom of the press. On June 14th, the regime attempted to arrest Guillermo Sologa, the owner of the Global Vision television station, which is the only remaining news station that is critical of the Chavez government. On July 21st, the Chavez government announced it would seek to own almost half of the shares of Global Vision. What do you make of this increasing intimidation and efforts to curtail press freedom, and what would your message as the United States ambassador be to the Chavez government about the value of a free press in a democratic society?
Thank you very much for that question, Senator. And I certainly agree with you in your statements regarding democracy, human rights, and basic freedoms. The department has repeatedly and publicly stated that a free and independent media is a vital element in any democracy, and one that plays a key role in the promotion of human prosperity, security, and dignity. We believe that these democratic freedoms define us as a nation. And they also comprise the core tenets of the Inter-American Democratic Charter, of which all of the countries in the Americas are signatories. The Secretary of State, the department spokesman, our permanent representative to the Organization of American States have all spoken out forcefully in defense of democratic rights and freedom of expressions, and they will continue to do so. And I, if confirmed, Senator, I will be unwavering in my support for democracy, human rights, and basic democratic freedoms.
Mm-hmm. And do you believe that it is part of your responsibility to speak up publicly about it?
Yes, sir, I do.
Let me ask you this. Another concern for leaders such as Chavez is that they are trying to accumulate power in their own hands, eliminate transparency in a checks and balance system, and in the process end up abusing their authority. Let me give you a case in point of what I'm concerned about, that of Antonio Ledesma, who in 2008 challenged the pro-Chavez candidate for the position of the mayor of Caracas, and he won. The response of the Chavez government was a National Assembly law that transferred the powers of the mayor as well as funding for running the municipality to another individual appointed by Chavez. It seems to me that that's a blatant concentration of power and a lack of tolerance of any opposition to the Chavez regime. What do you think about the constant centralizing of power here and the loss of the check and balances that seem to be taking place?
Just what you said, as a matter of fact, Senator, underscores the importance of a free and independent press. It underscores the value of having an atmosphere in which a person can go forward and speak freely without fear of repression. And I think that, again, if confirmed, it will be my responsibility to go and support these basic freedoms.
let me try something else. The nationalizations that are taking place under the Venezuelan government, they have nationalized a number of enterprises that have been partly owned by American businesses. Are you going to be forceful in your advocacy? I mean, I appreciate your distinguished service. Maybe your demeanor belies the steel underneath your smile. But I am worried. This is an assignment that really is going to need someone who will both use diplomacy but also stand up for a series of values that we represent to the entire hemisphere that we believe in, not only in our participation in the OAS, not only the Democratic Charter, but as a fundamental precept of what we advocate around the world. And so I appreciate the people-to-people effort. I appreciate talking to civil society. I appreciate trying to get them engaged, and I think that's all good. But I also think there's going to be a little bit of some, for lack of maybe a better term on my part, some sharp distinctions here that are going to have to be drawn along the way. And do you feel that you're going to be able to do that?
Absolutely. Mr. Chairman, I would hearken, and thank you for your comments, but I would hearken to my experience in my former ambassadorship in Honduras, in which we had property expropriated from an American citizen in the islands. He had his home taken away. Working with NOAA, we managed to get a sanction on the exportation of shrimp from that area to the United States. We held that up and held that up and held that up until such time as the property, the house, the keys were returned to the individual. I was called up and said, well, we've decided, we've overturned the court decision. Will you suggest to NOAA to lift the sanctions? My answer was no, that we will not lift the sanction until the people are in their homes, and they've called me to assure me of that. Later on, it took 2 weeks, but they were in their homes, they got them back, and then we lifted the sanction, and in less than a week, 1 million pounds of shrimp were on their way to the United States. I hearken again to my tenacity in standing up for American businesses. When, again, in Honduras, there were other problems with American businesses that were under particular pressure from that particular group. Each time, when called upon, we responded. I appreciate your comments, but I assure you that that the U.S. that in case of expropriations, I will work tirelessly to get the government of Venezuela to provide our companies with prompt, adequate, and effective compensation in accordance with international law.
Let me ask you one final question. It's a combination of increasingly those of us who are concerned about narcotic trafficking in the hemisphere see Venezuela as a transit point that seems to be largely allowed. And we also are concerned about Venezuela's military buildup at the same time. Seem to be buying a lot of armaments for I don't know who is the defense coming from. Who do you need so much armaments for from your neighbors? So could you comment on those two things?
Thank you, Mr. Senator. We have noted with concern Venezuela's purchase of arms, of seemingly excessive arms recently. We certainly note the fact that a nation has the right to defend itself and acquire arms, but we note also the responsibility, especially in the inter-Americas where there's such a great interdependence among nations, that this should be done with transparency, and that every effort must be made to ensure that these arms are well kept and not allowed to be diverted to terrorist groups. The first thing you asked me about,
Sorry, on the, and that's, I'll end there on the whole question of
narcotics
trafficking.
trafficking. Uh, uh, since 2005, uh, Venezuela has been designated as having failed demonstrably in supporting our international counter-narcotics effort. This again was a strong suit, and when I was ambassador to Honduras, if confirmed, I would work day and night to engage the Venezuelans. Again, we saw small improvement. I guess about 10 days ago, the Venezuelans deported 3 known drug traffickers to the United States. If we can begin with incidences like this, small accomplishments, and continue to build on those, I hope that we can make a real difference.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate it.